In a time of endless media content, political correctness and fake news, a city in chaos cried out for heroes. Two men were chosen, a mighty force forged in the heat of hilarity. The crack, the banter, the lack of negative waves. Their podcast would change the world.
And instead they got two absolute idiots, one whose crippling narcissism will inevitably lead to someone choking him to death, the other his obsession with Stone Cold Steve Austin ended in multiple restraining orders and a broken neck, not his own. No, this isn't the number one podcast in the country, yet. It's Jack and Sean on You Ain't Heard Nothing Yet!
Hello, how's the form? What is the crack and how are you getting on? The lovely man no longer sitting opposite me. He is a brave bit down the road in I don't know whether you would call it the second city of Ireland, as opposed to people in Cork would be ripping at that.
Limerick too, Limerick need to be in there.
Limerick, of course, indeed. Does this man have Jameson on speed dial if the distilleries close? Has he a mountain of comic books to read during this isolation that if it fell on a small child it would kill them? Is he currently creating a definitive text of wrestling matches from 1 to however it goes, of best to worst? It is a wild Sean excuse.
Hello, what's happening? The man sitting... That was such a good intro. Mine's not going to be anywhere near as good. The man not sitting opposite myself either. The man who's 101 miles away across borders, mountains, rivers, not oceans. Not yet, anyway. We'll see. They might flood Monaghan to kill this virus off. It's Jack Donnelly.
It is indeed. And of course, folks, you are listening to You Ain't Heard Nothing Yet, and we are in unprecedented times. First of all, before we start any, we will always say, people, wash your hands, social distancing. Unfortunate to people and all the brilliant and wonderful things that we're going to touch on that have been cancelled. Stop hugging people. Be good to your elderly, and go and get checked out if you are not feeling well.
Because there's a pandemic. It's a pandemic now.
There is, and it I mean, let's be totally honest. Like, it is a bad fucking job. Like,
It is a bad fucking job. Have you seen any of the? Well, for anyone who somehow has been living under a rock for the last approximately 2 months, there is.
Sorry to stop you there, but do you know what I genuinely think? You know the way, like, you see those type of shows that come out every once in a while. I think Big Arnie done one at one stage where he was underground in a time capsule. There was, I think, that unbelievable Kimmy Schmidt. I'm probably getting the name wrong there. With John Hamm was in it as well. Is there definitely people who are underground now who don't have a fucking clue what is going on here at the moment? Like,
sure, did you see Jared Leto?
I didn't know.
He was in like some fucking, like, big celebrity highfalutin meditative retreat where he went out to the desert and had no internet and no phone and all for like a month or something, and he like came out there like, say about a month into this whole scenario there, a week or 2 weeks ago, and he just put out this tweet being like, I have returned to a brave new world, it is scary and uncertain or something, and he literally hadn't a clue. Can you imagine, like when you go on a night out and you say you go missing, and then you have all these texts from your mates and all in the morning, like, where are you at? Imagine the text on his phone after about a month.
We love you and we care for you, and if we don't see you again, we love everything about you.
I would just assume he's missing, or God knows.
Yeah, God knows, because I think I've definitely experienced that. Where are you? What happened? Can you ring me now? Sort of deluge of messages and calls, and I know the feeling all too well. Obviously not to the same degree that he did, like seeing that he was completely isolated, no pun intended, from literally everything.
You know what I've noticed, Jack? You do go missing that often on a night out, that I don't even text you where are you anymore, or have you gone home? It's just where.
Yeah, it really is. That's what it fucking is.
It's like 12:30 and Jack was beside you at the bar, and now he's gone, and rather than just be like, fuck, you're just like, oh fuck, right, and it's just like, where? And then you get this text later or he rings you later and it's just a delirious, incomprehensible mess. And that's when he hasn't been drinking.
Exactly. Tell me this, Sean, have you a beverage of choice in front of you this evening?
I do. I have my Stone Cold jug filled as high as it will go with some Dog Punk IPA, who do not sponsor this podcast, but if they would like to sponsor this podcast, I'd be more than open to them sponsoring this podcast.
Without a shadow of a doubt, I will crush tins on Sean's head, no problem, as many as we can if so need. I had a lovely, Well, I actually, before we came on earlier, after I had my dinner this evening, I usually have a cup of tea after dinner, but I felt like I would have some coffee. So I had a lovely nutty Colombian.
And what
Which,
do you have to drink?
it was dark and thick. It was very nice.
What do you have to drink? What
I'm
is it? Not a
very,
Colombian? I don't know. Is that a coffee?
I don't know the make of it. I don't know the make of it, but it is absolutely delicious. And now I'm drinking. I bought myself a liter of red wine this evening. Before we came on, Sean. So I'm sipping at that at the moment.
Right, is my company that difficult to put up with?
Well, I mean, I also lifted over the rollies as well, so I might try and do a bit of chain smoking in here if I can maybe get something over the what do you call it, the the fire alarm.
The last set of pints that I was able to go for before all this took hold,
Mhm.
I somehow came home with a full packet of rollies, and maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the time I finally learn how to roll. Because
Oh
there,
my
Jack, as you
god.
know, it has been a long-standing saga.
It has, Sean, and you know what? Genuinely, though, this is the time you should roll. What you should do then, go to the shop and just get loads of extra little bits of papers. And you know, when you mess one up, just rip the paper up, and you keep using the same tobacco, so you don't waste.
I'd get frustrated and just like throw it all out the window.
Oh, I know you would. I played
Yeah.
Monopoly with you before, Sean.
But no, so Monopoly is obviously the go-to for a lot of people in these trying times where everyone's under quarantine, everyone's social distancing. You know, Jack's talking about literally, it's what, 2 meters apart. Jack's 101 miles away at the minute from myself.
Yes.
But what have you been doing to occupy yourself down in
Well,
the capital? Well, how is
down in
the
the cap.
capital? Is it?
Okay, so well, first of all, just on the monopoly point, it's funny that people run to the most capitalist board game that known to man.
No.
You know that in these trying times. But yes, how's the capital at the moment? St. Paddy's was incredibly, incredibly weird. We're recording this show, by the way, folks, on Mother's Day, the 22nd of March. And it's unfortunately a sad day. A lot of people can't get to their mothers, but it was also a sad day
Hmm.
on pretty much Christmas for Irish people, Christmas for the world. I suppose probably the greatest day ever invented, St. Patrick's Day, my birthday, was
Oh, I thought we
pretty
were
much.
talking about WrestleMania.
And Hulkamania was running wild. Yeah, Paddy's Day was closed, and pretty much the whole of Dublin is in what one would only call as lock. Well, not it's not in lockdown yet per se, but all the shops are closed. Well, the shops are still open in terms of the supermarkets, convenience stores. All the other retail shops are closed. Pubs are closed. I found myself, Sean, wandering the streets aimlessly past my favorite bars just to make sure that they're still there, just to make sure.
And was there anyone? Did you like have a drink on the roadside to in memory?
So I'm not saying that I went to St Stephen's Green, walked around, and had my hip flask with me at all. That never happened.
But
But it was a nice St Patrick's Day walk that I got out in Paddy's Day for. You know, I spent pretty much the whole weekend sort of just chilling, really. You know what I mean, and just sort of contemplating this, I how would one say, inevitable doom that is drawn upon us. You know.
mhm.
What about yourself? What did you get up to?
Oh, it's just well, as I think we previously discussed, I was supposed to go to Germany.
You were, Sean.
In the midst of all this, I did not go to Germany because everything was cancelled that we would have went to in Germany, except the flights because Ryanair can't stop that train. Um, the castle we were going to visit was cancelled. It pretty much would have left. We were flying to Munich to play a game of crazy golf and then leaving because that was the one thing that wasn't cancelled. So we ended up deciding against going.
And that was high on your bucket list,
And
that mini
since
golf, was
then,
it, Sean?
I fucking love mini golf. Like any opportunity to play mini golf. And there's only
Seriously.
really as far as yeah, I fucking love mini golf.
I didn't
And
know
as
you
far
loved
as I'm
mini golf. I
aware,
would so beat you at mini golf.
oh no, right, okay, we're gonna have to we'll do this next time
Sean,
you're allowed
we both
north of the border.
we both know that yeah, if they don't lock the fucking the border, like, but we both know that your hand to eye coordination is horrendous. So I
Oh,
mean,
excuse me, this is Jack. Oh no, Jack Donnelly, the man who can't fucking take one pint without spilling it all around him.
oh
No, I will
what?
not stand for this offence.
I will
Uh,
spill somebody else's pint around me, my friend, but I will not be
oh,
spilling my own pint. Thank you
it's very
very much.
technical. But no, the mini golf. No, I love mini golf. There is, and it's disappointing. There's only, I think, really two decent mini golf courses in the north. There's one in
You've ranked them.
Dundonald. Well, of the two, there's one in Dundonald that's pirate themed. It's peak mini golf. Then there's one over at the city side York Gates place that is like Aztec themed. It's good, but it's not as good. And then I went to one in Blackpool. It was a bit middling, to be entirely honest. I was expecting
Right.
better from Blackpool.
Hmm.
But this one in Germany fucking glowed in the dark enough. It's
Oh
gonna
my
be great
god.
crack.
You
It was
could
like
do
being a
like a
fucking
you could do like a Mr. Skinner. Oh no, sorry, it was Marge and Homer actually that fucked in the
in the windmill,
in the windmill. Yeah, do you like
and
that
then they got
paddle
trapped.
clapping your ass, Marge? I watched that episode the other day actually. Oh.
Well, that is that how have you been entertaining yourself then outside
Uh,
of?
Well, how have I been entertaining myself? I suppose I've been literally doing a lot of reading, which is, I suppose, a good thing. I've picked up probably I don't know whether it's the worst book or the best book to read at this time. I picked up George Orwell, 1984. I'm about 5 chapters in.
Right.
Um, it's look, it's a book that I've always meaning to get round to reading, but I sort of thought that in this, like, in the current situation that we're in, pick it up. Sure, why not give it a go? Because totalitarian, utilitarian, dystopian, etc., etc. Of all times, where like these, what we're doing, what is currently in the situation at the moment is what would be seen in some regard as the cusp of going to that and taking measures that we've obviously seen different countries have had to maybe imprison some people for not sticking to guidelines, or people who were infected not going out. Do you know what I mean? And also, like I said, we're recording this on Mother's Day, which is the 22nd. We've also heard what I heard, Big BJ on earlier on
BJ?
saying
Who's
that
BJ?
Big Boris Johnson,
Oh yeah.
um, and he was on talking there earlier saying that there may have to be a case, because a journalist asked him about bringing in police and such things, and he was like, if people don't adhere to this is what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? It was almost it's going to be inevitable if people keep fucking about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I was. Did you see? Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. I was just agreeing with
Oh no, like I've seen, for example, like spring break obviously is on in America at the moment, and like Sean, you know me, I know you. We enjoy a good party. We enjoy sculling a
you.
few pints, having a good time with people. I
Wrong.
think that goes unsaid.
Hmm.
And
But
let's be honest, they were told in the states, and they're told everywhere in the world, relax yourself, people, social distancing and such things. And then there's people in beaches in Tampa, Florida, which had to be closed down because they were continuing to party on. I'm like, lads, party in small quarters. I'm like, don't party at all.
Mhm.
You shouldn't be partying at all, but party in slightly smaller quarters if you're going to party. Do you know what I mean? You shouldn't be doing it, but
Yeah.
you can't stop people from,
I was chatting to a guy the other day, and he was supposed to have just a lot of mates round to his house for his birthday,
right,
and he got a letter from the landlord saying if you haven't anybody round, you're only allowed groups of like six or less. Now there's
right.
four men live in this house, you see, already.
Ah, okay.
So when his like other 10 or 15 people were coming around, that was up the left. So he split the do between two houses. Is one of his mates that were coming lived like two doors up, so just kind of split the do between the two houses and then kept within their limits, which is still, as long as you keep within small groups and everybody's conscious of who you're spending time with, that's fine. But
So
yeah,
sorry,
the
did they
spring
work
break
on like
videos
a?
were a bit mental.
Say it again.
The spring break videos were a different animal, a bit mental from what I saw.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. I was just thinking, just go back to the fella you were chatting to. Did they have it on like a timer, like an egg timer, where ding, and then they had to change people, down the back
They run it.
alley?
It's nearly like in Scooby Doo when they run back and forth between the doors, run away from the monster. It's like that, just go back and forth.
Robin.
No. What about your cooking? What have you been feeding yourself with in these difficult times?
What have I been feeding myself with? Well, Sean, my friend said I'm a fantastic cook. And
Hmm.
I try my best. So what have I been cooking? I made some smoked kipper paella earlier in the week. It was pretty tasty. It was very smoky, so if you weren't really into that, it wouldn't have been the thing. Um, I made also some bruschetta. I've been making a lot of pasta dishes. I made like a stew the other day, like a sort of, but I made the stew with mince. You can make it with either with mince or with beef chunks. Very tasty. That's what I've been eating. Um, and just sort of just pottering about. Also, when it comes to food, right? Think about takeaways. Do you know what I mean? Like there's still takeaways, still like they're still massively doing Deliveroos and stuff down here. And I haven't gotten it yet. I don't know whether you have, Sean. But here's a question, right? What happens if there's, like they're saying, social distance and such things? Like I know people are meant to have good hygiene and regardless in kitchens and such things. But like, do you know what I mean? Like, tell me about takeaways. What's your? I don't know whether you've had takeaways since this whole thing has kicked off. I haven't.
Oh, I have. I have. I had, let's say, I got a Belgium last week at one stage.
Oh, sexy. Hey, did you get two meats or one?
I got two meats for the first time. Yeah, I got the chili for the first time
Ooh,
ever,
ooh,
and it
ever
was ever, and it was good shit.
hits the
It
spot now.
for a brief moment I forgot the doom encompassing the globe. Um, and then, but this is the more interesting one.
Hmm.
Last night, I got a Nando's
Oh.
because Nando's in Belfast have started doing delivery to where I live, which they did not do before. So I
Okay.
was like, oh, might as well,
If
right?
Nando's
And
also want to sponsor us, lads, no problem. Like.
feel free, go for it. Give us one of them black cards or whatever they're called.
They are, yeah, black. I
And
think they may be gold here in the south, but
either way, but
either way.
so the lady came to deliver it. She rang the doorbell. I went down, and I thought that this was all some ploy to pull me away for testing because I came down, and there was two people in fully, and obviously it was a wee bit cold outside, fair enough, in full like coats, hoods up, blue surgical masks, blue rubber gloves on, and I mean she stood at about fucking 4 feet from the door. I opened it, and she just like this again. Jack and I are not in the room, and this is not a video podcast, but
No.
visualize it. She reached out her arm as far as full extension and like dropped it into my hand. You know, like when you're putting like you know when you take your dog for a walk and he shits and you scoop it up in the bag and you like drop it in because it's stinging. It's like just
Yeah.
as far away. It's like that, and I was like, "So, okay, thank you, bye." I feel like if I'd offered her, if it was like, "Oh, do you want, you know, here's £2 or £3 for the delivery," she might have fucking like started screaming and ran away.
Ah, coins,
I
no
know,
paper money.
no. But yeah, it's mad. And fucking, how many shops? Right, let's play an over under here. How many shops did I have to go to earlier this week before I secured toilet roll?
Before we secure bog roll, this is hilarious. I can't get over this. I want to come back to the cops after this, but how many shops did you have to go to? I don't know, 2.
8. It was the eighth shop.
What?
The eighth shop. I
8
live
fucking
on.
shops.
I live on the verge of North Belfast,
You
and
do.
I went
You posh
to
wanker.
fuck, and I
And
went to
no, you reel
every.
me all the time. You reel me all the time for
Oh
having a
no!
swanky fucking apartment. You
Uh,
live in North
Hold on, hold
Belfast.
on, hold on.
Thank you very much for your posh
What
North
was the
Belfast
text? What
accent.
was the text I got from Jack last week when he was saying about having to work from home and quarantine and all? He was like, "The fucking cleaners have stopped coming home," and it was like, "Oh no, oh no!" The firstest of first world problems.
What, the cleaners?
Your cleaner's not coming in anymore, and you
No,
cried about it.
no. I'll tell you what it was crying about the fact that I don't have a mop or a mop bucket. You know what I mean? Like I do my
Why
own
do you not have a
cleaning
mop?
because I always assume I've never had to use one because they do come in once a week. Again, I don't pay for this, folks.
So sorry. In the space of about 40 seconds, here, Jack said, "Hold on, I do my own cleaning." Well, I don't have a mop bucket because they do it.
No,
So
no. But I have no problem cleaning on my own. But I've realised I've never had to do the floors because I can only do the floors once a week. It's only me living here, and
uh,
so I've had to borrow mates' mop buckets and stuff. I've been racking heads. I swear to God, because I do like to keep the place in tip top shape, Sean. You know.
do you ever call over to your new neighbor you haven't met? You know the like cliche where it's like, uh, "Oh, can I borrow some milk?" And are you like, "Can I borrow your mop bucket?"
No, what I've done is I've started bringing them over food, but like knock door running the food. So like sort of dropping it over, like, oh my God, I'll see you later, coronavirus. Good luck.
run, run, run. But
Um,
I, but yeah, so that was, yeah, 8 shops. So
it's
I had to
fucking
go
tough.
essentially from where I live, essentially nearly just edge of the city centre towards North Belfast to basically Queens, and went stopped at every supermarket in between, and had to pretty much get to Botanic before I got toilet roll. It was ridiculous.
That is
And
completely mad. And none of the big
it
stores
was.
had it, like, because obviously you have a big Tesco's beside you.
Oh yeah, none of them
There are
had
other
it. They
shops
were
about
fucking
it.
clean out. And I know it's one of a few scenarios. I imagine it's either is it people are feared of dying from said coronavirus and want to die with a clean ass,
No, well,
or
can I just jump in
is
and
there
just
an elusive symptom? Is
go
there a
ahead?
symptom I don't know about where you shit yourself?
Yeah,
Is diarrhea a symptom?
yeah, because that's what was my sort of just thing I was going to jump in there on because I was going to say that to my knowledge anyway, and I watch a lot of news because I'm a dork, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
dork. He's a
dork,
complete
very
dork.
strange there. But I watch a
That's
lot of
exactly the way
news.
a dork would say it.
But I do watch a lot of news, and I have yet to see a symptom, as you just said, of coronavirus being explosive diarrhea. Do you know what I mean?
Uh, no, I haven't seen it yet. It'll be interesting to see if they report that in the news.
It will be, it will be. But I'll tell you this, right? There's been different measures brought in here in the south. One of the new measures has been to fast track a whole new squad of Gardaí
You know
into
what I mean?
Gardaí into the pipeline, into the actual Gardaí pipeline of working
It's,
in stations and such things. And can you imagine,
Seen this?
like, pardon?
Seen that? Yes.
Yes, and but can you imagine, like, you get in, you go to be a cop, to clean up your community and tackle all the badness that's going on in society and help people and stuff things, and you're just sitting writing reports about people stealing bog roll. Do you know what I mean? Like,
No.
you know,
Sure. Did you see in? I've seen it's so funny. It's like all the memes and stuff you see are either about quarantine and being bored or about toilet roll. These are the two
Mm,
main narratives of this crisis.
very
Like
true.
if God forbid this virus is the end of
End of days.
modern civilization as we know it, there will be
Yeah.
people. Whoever comes next will try to look through the news reports and all to see what happened and where did it go wrong, and it's gonna be they didn't have enough toilet roll because it's like like you talk about historians and they read it and try to figure out. It's gonna be we have Boris's speech and Leo Varadkar's really impassioned speech, saying we need to fight this virus, and then we have all these tweets saying
Mhm.
there's no fucking bog roll, So I think the conclusion will come that that's where we all went wrong.
See, when you just said about Varadkar's speech, Leo's speech, there's a DJ that done it in conjunction with RTE, so that's the main obviously broadcaster here in the south of Ireland. And there's a guy called Welchie, I think his name is. He's a DJ, and I think he got one of the guys who work with RTE to, like, when he remixed his voice and then put obviously Leo's speech into it. Go and look it up for anybody that's listening. A guy called Welchie. It's a coordinate, don't contaminate, I think, is the campaign that they're running. And it's a cool wee tune. It's like any of those songs that have like big speeches in it. You know what I mean? They're there for a little bit of power, and they're very nice. So I would go and recommend. Definitely go and recommend looking at that. Funny enough, though, Sean, you were asking about cooking skills. How's your slow cooker? Keeping going.
I haven't busted it out yet, but I have big plans. Big plans. That's slow cooker. Whew, big plans.
Are you allowed to unveil any of these big plans, Skis?
No, because they're probably gonna go massively wrong because my cooking skills leave much to be desired, in that they're non-existent.
Say, oh, your cooking skills are non-existent, but is the whole definition of a slow cooker not just to wrap everything in herbs and spices and delicious marinades and such things, and then just bait it in there for like 8 hours?
You see, that's where my skills are lacking because typically, you might say go and make a curry and be like, oh yeah, we need this and this, or you might follow the recipe. But I fucking love spicy food, so I'll
Yes.
be like making a curry and be like, a little bit of chilies, a little bit of a bit more chili, jalapenos, chili sauce, and then it's just fucking radioactive. And this is why I need the toilet roll, people. And why, and you're the real public health emergency is me not being able to have this toilet roll when I make this incredibly spicy food.
Yeah, and
But
I
so no, after you.
no, I was just going to say to the general public who are listening to this, I lived with Sean for 2 years. I know what it's like. It's scary stuff. And I'm not saying Sean's curry. I'm saying how Sean deposits that curry the next morning.
But look at it this way: there'll be no Guinness shites for a while.
There will, Sean. Hey, that's the thing we have to just come on to. What about the situation of not having? I don't know if this makes us sound like fucking alcos, but the enjoyment of having a cold pint.
I know. There was a thought in a group chat with a lot of lads from work. We were talking, and it was like, think of all the times you've been sitting in work, and somebody's been like, "Go for a wee pint after work," and you were like, "No, man, not tonight." If you could go back now,
If I
I'm
could
sure. Like, I know
turn
it's a different. Heck,
back
time.
time, if
I know it's a
I
totally different animal for you, Jack, because you've never said no in that sort of scenario.
could.
But
I haven't, because I believe actually. Do you know what I do have, Sean? Do you know what I do have actually? And
what
we
do you
might
have?
touch back in it. I have what I've been doing is, like I was telling you at the start there, I've been reading a lot, and the three books that I've sort of been reading is George Orwell 1984, like I said. I got this book in 2011. It's a different book. It's called The Rattle Bag, and it's a collection of poems edited by Ted Hughes and Seamus Heaney, two very famous Irish poets. And there was a poem that I came across today. It's very short, 4 lines. Going to read it to you. It's by William Blake, and it's called Eternity. Okay, do you mind if I read this to
Okay.
you, Sean?
No, go on ahead. Shit.
Okay. Who binds? Hold on. Coronavirus.
Hold on. You're in quarantine, yes, sir.
Oh yes, without it, I'm pretty much total lockdown here at the moment.
Good. Keep it that way.
Okay, so eternity. Who he binds to himself a joy does the winged life destroy. But he who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. So if there was ever a fucking thing to say to me that, enjoy the moments while they're there, don't wait for them to happen, but obviously be sensible and such things. And in this current situation, I think it's definitely poignant, and it's definitely
It is.
It's quite true, you know.
Uh-huh. And I suppose that would lead us on to the real
Elephant in the room, no.
not elephant. Well, the elephant in the room's the fucking virus they've been talking about. Um, the real thing, the real event that needs mourning and discussed.
Okay, well,
Um,
sorry, just to stop you right there, Sean. There has been a lot of things, bad stuff that has happened, which we do need to touch on, but and we will come to them in due course. But Sean, sorry, continue forthwith.
but I think you talked about that poem being about to enjoy your moments and all. I know personally, I'm sure Jack, you agree, and I'm sure some of our listeners will agree. Um, an event that was a beacon in the distance was the Fla
The flat,
in
actually,
Mullingar.
was.
Uh, and it's fucking cancelled, Jack. Do you know it's cancelled? Have you heard this fucking awful news?
I have, Sean. I have. I got it early one morning there during the week. Um, and it's been. I'm not gonna lie. Like do you know when the whole thing kicked off? Genuinely, there's a genuine comment. Like when the whole thing kicked off, I thought to myself, look, it's not as bad as it's gonna be. And come the end of the summer, at least we'll be back with normality. And now they're telling us it could be a year or longer.
Hmm.
And then they cancelled. Probably the fly obviously runs for a week, but we usually go down for like a 4-day weekend, 3-day weekend, 4-day weekend. And to say
It's a
then that it was
3-day weekend
cancelled.
because Jack's passed out in the fourth day.
I thought that was the day after the first day where you just go for a day of sleep.
This also doesn't include the day last year where he just went missing all day and then turned up at 2 a.m. in the stands of the GA pits we were camping in.
I needed to reflect and enjoy solace at the end of a very heavy day. I'm sure look, I found you.
It was the weirdest thing ever. But anyway, carry on.
What was I saying?
You were saying about morning and events being cancelled.
Yeah. I didn't think. I thought though that we would get to the end of August, or at least August time, and things would go back to some sort of normality. And that's just not going to happen. This is going to run into a lot of this. We're going to feel the ricochet of this in Christmas in 2021. And I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I thought the flab and cancelled was just one of those things. It was like a good weekend. Everybody looked forward to just of good music, good trad music, Irish system music, with loads of different people. And the crack was always 90. And there's been a lot of things, both me and Sean were going to together and separately, that has been cancelled, or that has been put, cancelled indefinitely or put back to a later date. And and I think Sean said this earlier to me, and it was like for pretty much, or to paraphrase, for a year that had looked so promising and was going to be brilliant. There was so much on 2020. 2020 was the start of our own 20s. Obviously they had the roaring 20s in the 1900s. And we've now been hit by this fuck. Oh no, don't get me wrong. In like the end of the Spanish flu, obviously came the roaring 20s, the jazz age. So maybe, I don't know, maybe when we come out of the end of this, it'll be fucking brilliant and fantastic, and we will dive in to a bed of hedonism, hopefully.
Two things. One, does that mean then if they had the roaring 20s, does that mean this is going to be, well, so far anyway, it's looking like the boring 20s?
The coffin 20s.
Coffin. But just imagine fucking, is it 8 months, is it 12 months? Imagine that crisp, creamy pint of Guinness on your first, the day that just, do you think it's going to be one day? I think it's just going to be, that's it, lads. Everything, the bars are open again, Primark's open again.
Well, I was going to say, actually, now that you just say, I don't wonder how the people of Belfast are coping without or people of Northern Ireland, the North, are coping without the Primark. Like, well, they've been coping for quite a while, I suppose, since it was burnt down, of course. But
I know. Well, maybe it won't even get rebuilt now.
No. No, what I think, funny enough, when you say about the one day, I see that back in Wuhan in China, they've sort of restricted social distancing because obviously there's been days now where there hasn't been any new recorded cases. I don't know, Sean. I don't know. I wouldn't like to see people just opening dribs and drabs. I would rather just have. I'd like to hope that Leo or whoever's Taoiseach at that stage will turn this down here and say, okay, now here's a national week of just going pure mad. Because, Sean, the party after this is going to be immense.
The after virus party.
The after virus party where we all contract, I don't know, like, can you imagine, number one, right? I was just going to say we all contract like a shit ton of more diseases, like STDs, but you can imagine the amount of babies that are going to be fucking born in 9 months' time. How's your health service going to cope with that?
I know, named Corona. or what else could you name her?
Well, do you know the way people name babies after where they were conceived or that sort of thing? I'm just, yeah.
Quarantina.
Fantastic.
But yeah, so yeah, it's hectic enough. This is essentially turned into the quarantine cast.
It has, yeah.
Or
It's called. When you say you ain't heard nothing yet, all we've been hearing is about coronavirus. We thought we'd get rid of fucking Brexit there for a while,
I know,
and then in bounced fucking Corona.
I know. It's like that fucking. It's, like when a TV show has, it's clearly building up to like a big finale,
Mm.
and then they do really well, and they're like, "Fuck it, we'll do it all season," and then they do the next season, and you're like, "Lads, you've made a complete hash of this. Should have finished should have just finished with the Brexit and left it there. This is
Yeah.
fucking well worse than we possibly thought." But another sort of corona related thing.
Mm.
Have you seen this video? Have you seen the video of Gal Gadot and her compatriots?
Who's sorry?
Gal Gadot,
Who's
Wonder
that?
Woman,
Oh, okay.
and she's recorded this video of her and all these other famous people together singing. Like they're all obviously self isolating, but each of them sings like a line from John Lennon. Imagine.
Oh, I think. Oh, this came out. No, this wasn't just there yesterday. It's been a wee bit
No,
earlier.
it's
Yeah.
a couple of days ago, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
a couple
yeah.
of days when we're recording. I feel it's really important as well, I've noticed Jack's been doing, that we establish people. We are recording this on the 22nd of March because the last two episodes we've talked about coronavirus stuff and current affairs, but because things are moving so quickly, they have been very quickly out of date. So this episode could well be out of date by the time we heard it.
Yeah.
but
This episode could be edited literally in an hour's time. It'll probably be
yeah,
fucking out of date.
But an hour, or not an hour, sorry, a couple of days before the time we're currently recording this, the Gal Gadot or Gadot, whatever her name is, released this video of her and Jimmy Fallon's in it, and Kristen Wiig and all these famous people, and each of them, sing a line, and it is just the most fucking tone deaf thing I have ever seen in my life.
What do you mean?
It's like, well, it's all right. So, we're all at home. We can't see our friends, can't see your family, can't enjoy yourself as the ways you typically would. People are, might get sick, might die, blah blah. But here is a pile of celebrities isolating in their mansions, singing you a song about imagine there's no heaven, imagine there's no hell, imagine there's no, rich people, etc. And it's like, oh fuck, right. There's been about fucking a couple of hundred new cases there in the UK today,
There has.
but oh fuck, Jimmy Fallon has and Gal Gadot have just they've all solved it. They've solved it.
Yeah, I mean it.
I just thought it was fucking a bit tone deaf. What was your thoughts, or do you disagree? Or
No, I seen it. Or well, I'd sort of seen it there at the start of the week or whatever. It's just, see, this is the I don't know, like this is the thing that I was chatting to somebody about during the week as well, right? Sometimes, I'm trying to say this without like being insulting or anything to anybody, but because we see so much and everybody keeps saying, all these different campaigns and different things about being nice and self isolating and such things and all the rest. When you do see celebrities doing it, people who, whether they're A, B, C, D, whatever, they probably do feel that they have an onus on themselves because they have a following to do that. And I can understand that. But as you said,
okay,
at times it feels, as you would say, slightly tone deaf when people are sitting in their massive mansions with as much money as they can use for food, for shelter, for whatever, when there's just a lot of people that are not great. That, like me and you, for example, let's be honest, we're both in fine situations. We're not gonna be kicked out of our homes or anything. We're still gonna have jobs, can work from home, etc., etc. But there is just, I can definitely, I get exactly where you're coming from.
yeah, I just thought it was curious. And then Joe Lycett, the comedian,
Yes,
the
I
English
actually
comedian.
quite like Joe Lycett. Yeah.
So him and a pile of then other UK comedians recorded pretty much the same video, but they'd replaced it all with bastards. So it's imagine there's no bastards, etc. And I mean, it was such a quick turnaround. Like Gal Gadot and Friends video was like the morning, then by that evening they had it. I just think it was poorly thought through. But I mean, as there are a lot of things, between the different things you've been seeing in the news about closing schools or closing borders or whatever else. But we filled a fair chunk of time talking about the negative, Jack. Whether it be my cooking or the lack of pints or that video, whatever you want to talk about. I
Yes.
suppose a bit more positive. What have you been watching? What have you been reading? What have you been?
Okay. So, Sean, yeah, you were saying about sort of things to watch. I suppose, well, look, we are all sort of in this situation where we're all quite confined. Whether we're, like, I'm here on my own, obviously Sean's there with Amelia, his girlfriend. There's people and families staying in houses. There's older people self-isolating. There's loads of people who maybe listen to this podcast, all our lovely, loyal listeners.
Mhm.
And what we're going to probably go through now is just tell you about things, maybe books, songs, albums, TV shows, movies, whatever, that you may think are good to watch at these times. Because it's good to go back and maybe see things that we've missed out on. Because obviously we live in a situation, we live in a world where it's incredibly fast paced. So if you don't see something like a new movie, for example, excuse me, or a new release, well then you feel that you've lost it, you haven't seen it. So for example, I haven't seen
Yeah.
Parasite yet, right? I could go now and watch
You
Parasite.
useless bastard.
But I
I know.
literally have a raft of time to now go maybe pick up the book that you keep telling yourself, oh, I'm going to read that, I'm going to read that. Never read it. Maybe pick up like a scrapbook that you said you're never going to make for your family or your ma, or your dad, or your partner, whoever, or your holiday away. Or the creative things, painting, drawing. So what we're going to do now is we just talk a little bit of shite around things to watch, what to read, maybe what to see. And sort of things like that. There, I've obviously mentioned earlier Sean and his raft of comic books. Hopefully, Sean can maybe give us one or two comics that to stand
Mhm.
out, maybe that you can get online. Sean, I'm sure you can buy some of them as an online audio version if people can't get the stores,
Yeah.
and such things like that. So I suppose I might kick us off with saying that Disney obviously have released their Disney Plus, the new player. It's the world obviously is in chaos, but of course Disney is one of these things that it's doughy eyed, it's lovely. Now, well, if we really dig deep under the surface, it's a wee bit like Hansel and Gretel. There was a different story written before, and
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of connotations of old Disney films and all the badness that's in them. That's true. We've seen the YouTube videos, but Disney have now put out their new streaming service, and there's a lot of shows on it that I think Sean will be happy that are there and will really really love. So, for example, Sean is a fan of Jeff Goldblum, aren't you, Sean?
Yeah. Is anyone not? Are you not? That implies you're not. Are you well?
No, I know, Sean. I know anybody was to say that they didn't enjoy Jeff Goldblum, you would need to maybe check their temperature and think maybe they have the coronavirus. Mm,
Mhm.
mm.
There would be something going on there. Like.
There would indeed. Jeff Goldblum, obviously Jurassic Park, Independence Day, and so many other things. So Jeff Goldblum is, from what I can see, is now going to do the voice of the National Geographic part on Disney Plus.
Okay.
So he sort of just goes into it with what you would see like a childlike curiosity. He says he doesn't know a lot about it, but he delves into things that fascinates him as well. Sort of things like, I don't know, Snickers, ice cream, tattoos, and of course jewelry. So yeah.
Right. Is it like a how it's made sort of thing, or like him learning about how things are put together, or the culture
I'm
behind
not
things,
gonna lie,
or?
I don't really know. It's just sort of him, just I suppose exploring things. You know what I mean? So, say you get, for example, ice cream. Where did ice cream originate? Different places that use it in different ways, etc., etc. And Jeff Goldblum, a wee bit like Matthew McConaughey. You can get Matthew McConaughey now to read you bedtime stories. Matthew McConaughey has been able to do that for quite a while, even before this whole coronavirus thing kicked off. So, the situation is that Jeff Goldblum, I suppose, is giving us a little bit of his goodness too.
Hmm. Hmm. And Disney Plus, of course, I think has the all most, if not all, of the Simpsons
Oh,
on it as
seriously?
well. So if you want to get your Simpsons fix, you don't need to wait till 6 o'clock on RTE or Channel 4. Actually, because God knows how long, God knows how long they'll be hanging about as things continue.
Very,
But
very
yeah,
true. Very, very true. But yeah,
anything
so
else?
Jeff. Oh yeah, there's loads. Sorry, there's loads.
Okay.
Absolutely loads. So let me see where we at here now. So some of the great movies that are going to be on it. We're going to see Cool Runnings. You're a fan of Cool Runnings, Sean?
Like Cool Runnings.
The Jamaican bobsled team. So
Hmm.
they're on it. Let me see what else. Lady and the Tramp. You a fan of? That's why the lady is a tramp.
I am, but I believe the I don't know if the older one's probably on there, but I believe there's also a newer CG one on Disney Plus, like made purposely for Disney Plus, which I have not seen and don't know if it's any good. But The
Right.
Lion King was a bit middling, so
Oh, you weren't a fan of the Lion King with Beyonce Knowles and such people? No.
no, Beyonce is actually kind of annoying.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, her song, it's a whole. We'll do a whole episode about The Lion King. Maybe we've got time. Look, we're gonna fucking crank these episodes out. We'll do a Lion King episode. Yeah.
I was going to say now, Sean, that we've worked out how to do this remotely. Like we're going to be pumping out the episodes, folks.
Yeah.
What else is on it there? We've got some Alice in Wonderland. So I suppose now is the time when I crank out, what I brought home from Amsterdam this time last year.
What do you bring home from Amsterdam?
My clogs. I can walk about and now
Oh
learn
yeah,
how to
yeah,
work
yeah.
properly in clogs.
Yeah, of course.
So that would be an idea too, perhaps. The Jungle Book's on there, and everybody loves the bare necessities,
hmm And the new Jungle Book's on there, which has Bill Murray as Baloo, and you can't go wrong with that.
No, you can't, and you cannot. I think I've said this in the podcast before. I watched that for the first time steaming on a flight to Ethiopia, um, with
As
this
you said,
guy with this guy sitting beside me that needed a slap on the teeth. But that's besides the point.
separate story.
I do not condone violence whatsoever.
Against anyone.
Well. So yeah, so there's a lot of there's loads of good things on it. I mean, you have like the likes of Bambi. These are all the old ones now. Bambi, Beauty and the Beast, Jungle Book. Holes. You've seen Holes with Shia LaBeouf.
I love Holes. Holes is so good.
Do you, Sean?
Give me all the holes you have.
Fantastic, fantastic. Also, another another thing that Sean's a big fan of is, of course, High School Musical. Whoa, whoa, whoa! We can't stick to the status quo because the world is
If
up
you
the left.
wanna be cool as once, are we not actually singing this now?
No, we are not. Poor listeners, my
Oh my
God.
god. The second
Um,
High School Musical is the best High School Musical.
I mean,
Third one's
I don't
disappointing.
even think that's something that we're gonna have to argue about. No.
Because you agreed that the second one's the best.
Yeah, sure.
The
We've
second one's better.
we also have
The third one's just
classics.
main, and then the first one, then the third one was in the cinemas,
See,
which
folks, I can't turn Sean's
I,
mic off now.
the second
Just rant and rave.
the second one has I Don't Dance, which is the best song in the entire franchise.
What's it called?
Maybe that song I Don't Dance. We'll link it on Facebook. It's like people talk about influential musicians like the Beatles until you've seen Carbon Blue, the little known Disney starlet that was Carbon Blue. Uh, dance sing and dance about how he does not sing or dance. You haven't experienced music until you've seen that.
No, I was just thinking of more like, safety dance, because you're no friends of mine.
But yeah, have you not seen High School Musical?
I have. I've seen like I think I've seen the first two when I was younger and unwiser and forced to watch them, but I don't think I've actually sat through what would be the ear and the eye gouging of the third one as well. Sean, like Jesus Christ.
So what you're saying is we can do like a live podcast where we live stream us watching them,
If I can have a pillow over my face the whole time.
yeah. Yeah.
Other
So
greats
carry on,
on
carry on.
it. Other greats on it are Mary Poppins, Peter Pan. We've got Nightmare Before Christmas as well. And Snow White. And I always have a wee bit weirdness about Snow White because like seven old
Don't make
boys.
this a sex thing.
But you know what I mean, like seven old fellas against around a woman who's sleeping like a young lady.
It is. It's not ideal. And there's, technically, I mean, she's been drugged. That's why she's.
Yeah,
So
by an older witch woman, which is very strange in the gaze of a red
weird
apple.
dynamic. It's a weird dynamic.
Very, very strange dynamic. I don't know. I've lost my sheet. Give me 2 seconds. Literally, and there's only me in this. Oh, here we are. And then of course you've got Netflix, and there's like loads of brilliant, brilliant things. We sort of chatted about this a little bit about when we were watching or doing our like TV shows of the year and films of the year. I would recommend people go back and listen to them because that will obviously show you as well different things you can watch at this time. Always Sunny, Russian Doll, South Park, Dairy Girls, Beetlejuice has been added to it as well. Also the documentary Supersonic on the Oasis and on the Gallagher brothers. Haven't seen it, but I've heard very good reports, so I'll probably watch that. I watched Lady Bird the other evening with the lovely Saoirse Ronan, whatever way you want to pronounce it.
Uh huh.
Good movie. Obviously, I think she's done better, but it was a good film. What else have we watched? I rewatched Parks and Rec. Probably again, I think just one of the funniest TV shows about. It was brilliant. Might try and watch The Office. I've watched again finished off watching Bikram Yoga. It's a documentary about Bikram Yoga. Once again, powerful man comes in, creates this, and then just messes with people. And let me see what else have I watched. Tried to start to watch The Office, but it's a struggle, a little bit of a struggle to try and get into The Office. I haven't really got hooked the way everybody else got or
The
has been
Office
hooked.
just never clicks with me. I've tried it 2 or 3 times. It just never ever clicks with me. But then other people say the same thing about Arrested Development, and I think it's just fantastic.
Again, Arrested Development has been a little bit with that. I've tried my hardest to get into Arrested Development. I've pretty much watched the full first season, and I struggle with it. What about yourself, Sean?
Right.
Oh, I'm also gonna. Sorry, folks. I'm also gonna watch Twin Peaks as well.
You should definitely watch Twin Peaks. I'll be very, very curious and very excited to record another episode and discuss what you've seen of Twin Peaks. Will you be watching it this evening?
I endeavour, yes, hopefully to watch it this evening.
Good, good. We'll touch base next time and see what your thoughts are.
Indeed.
What have I been watching? Disney Plus, obviously, The Mandalorian as well is on there. The Star Wars series. It's meant to be very good.
Is this the one where
John
you're
Carter.
you're guy in a tin with a paint tin on his head steals Yoda?
Yeah, the eponymous Mandalorian. That's the one with Baby Yoda that we've been seeing everywhere.
Yeah.
Baby Yoda. It's good shit. Which, and I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure none of the listeners or ourselves have seen the show prior to Disney Plus's imminent release date, because of course that would be illegal and something no one should ever do.
No, definitely not.
Anyway,
Down with that sort of thing.
what else have been watching? We finished a Korean drama recently called Crash Landing on You,
Oh,
which is, we'll hear this first setup, right?
right.
A lady from South Korea goes paragliding and gets blown north of the border, where she
Fuck.
meets and subsequently becomes enamored with this North Korean soldier, and it's just the whole thing from there. But it just gets pretty wild, and there's a lot of corporate espionage and assassination attempts and stuff. But it's
Oh.
good shit. What else? I've been watching. Been playing a lot of video games. Finished The Outer Worlds. Would highly recommend it. Good long RPG in the style of the old isometric Obsidian. And
Sean has now started to talk a language that Jack does not know.
Interplay in the style of the old, Interplay RPGs. Currently playing through Tales from the Borderlands. In fact, now a game you cannot get online and you can only get pre-owned, so it's probably actually a poor recommendation because you can only get it if you happen upon it in a store. And then I'm gonna play Borderlands 3. I'm trying to think what else I've been watching.
I was literally just about to break into Badlands by Bruce Springsteen there when you said Borderlands.
I think I'm singing a different song.
The one thing I've just noticed that we can't do in this is the thing that me and Sean actually do very well when we're together. We can literally sync without prompting. We can literally sync a song if we both know it. That we've done it many times for the podcast, and we just do it just randomly, and it works. It does not work when there's a little bit of a delay, a slight delay between either of us over here. Like,
Well, we can fix this in the edit. It'll be grand. It'll be grand. I've been reading Blind Boy's first book. We got recording a Blind Boy and his short
I have it.
stories.
I need to pick it up.
It's very good. Some of the stories are not necessarily short stories, but they are mental and very good, and very Black Mirror esque. I would say. It's kind of like you know what's going on, but then it's kind of a twist in the tale, and it's a bit different. I've also been reading a book by, I cannot pronounce the author's name, but the book's called Homo Deus, which is a sequel to, I think, the first book's called Homo Sapiens, and essentially it's a brief history of the future of mankind, and it's kind of extrapolating out this idea of where humanity goes to next and all. It's a very interesting book.
Oh, okay.
I recommend that. Also, came across Sean Cavanagh's autobiography and have been given that another flick through, and Daniel Bryan's as well, actually.
I thought you were going to say Daniel O'Donnell.
No, Daniel Bryan's. And yeah, and actually, just on Daniel Bryan, I'll talk about some comic and more TV recommendations and films in a minute. But WrestleMania, we've talked about events that have been cancelled across the board. WrestleMania has not been cancelled, Jack.
What?
Cannot stop WrestleMania.
Aye, because they're going to send it to Saudi Arabia. You fucking.
They're doing it. They're doing it behind closed doors in Florida.
How
So there will be zero
is that going to
fans
work?
in
Like?
attendance. It's gonna be really weird because you're gonna have shit like Edge coming back for his first match in like a decade to no reaction. It's weird. It's nearly the best description I could think of it is it's like a sitcom without the laugh track. Do you ever see those videos of like Friends,
Yeah.
Big Bang Theory?
Yeah,
No,
Friends
there-
even.
Yeah, there's deliberate pauses in the action, for the crowd to be like, oh, but now there isn't going to be that. So it's going to be a strange watch, but at least I'm getting some form of WrestleMania. A lot has been taken from me this year in terms of cancelled events, but don't take my WrestleMania from Mr. Virus.
Don't do it, please. Goddamn, don't do it.
And I suppose on there's some other stuff I'm watching on the WWE Network. There's some very good documentaries, and of course, every pay-per-view you could ever want. So who needs Netflix? Who needs Disney Plus when you've got the
Do you
network?
still have the WWE Experience option?
I don't. I've deleted the app because it was just a bit much, and not just because it was giving me notifications which spoiled pay-per-views when I was watching them because my internet shit, and plus I wasn't actually live. I was like 5 minutes behind, and yeah. But yeah, no, yeah, no. I'm trying to think what else has been good. Comics, a lot of good comics.
Yeah,
Although
so give us if there's right. So here's the situation, right? Give us like one or two comics that you think people could either see online or buy online that are like we would like the Killing Joke can be sort of left sort of in its own and on its own. Well, although obviously with the Joker and the Batman thing, but something like the Killing Joke that can be read as one single piece on its own that somebody could maybe buy online, something like that.
mm, well, Comixology and Marvel Unlimited are both online comic apps. You can read them on your phone, on your tablet, even I think on your browser. Obviously the Marvel Unlimited is just Marvel comics, but Comixology is a bit of everything. Marvel, DC, Image, Independent, etc. Something I've been reading at the minute, which isn't so much can be taken on. Well, it can be taken on its own, but it's currently an ongoing series, so you'll have to maybe keep up to date if you want to follow on. But it is incredibly, incredibly interesting. It is the current run of the Hulk comic. It's called the Immortal Hulk, and
Right.
to
Is the Hulk still
sum
green,
up,
by the way, or have they changed that
he's
too?
well, you see, the Hulk, it ties into it, I'll not spoil it, but throughout the years, it kind of does a really good job of tying in a lot of older aspects of the Hulk mythology in terms
Right.
of different personas. And like, there's a grey Hulk called Joe Fixit,
I've
who's like
heard
a
of the Grey
mobster.
Hulk before, actually. To be fair.
Yeah, and he's like a mobster type. And then there is radioactive, even glowing green Hulk. You know, it ties all these in. Basically, the gimmick of this series is that Bruce Banner's back from the dead for the God knows how many time, and he's just trying to lay low. But the Hulk has like changed the persona in his head, and then it's now nearly this. Um, this is smarter, but he's still as strong. But he has this now mental idea in his head that he wants to kill all of humanity for the good of the earth. But
For
there's also
the
going on,
oh, they always have some weird old plans, don't they?
yeah. But then also going on in there is all these other personas trying to take hold, and there's also this other subplot of that the power of the Hulk seems to be being revealed to be tied to something more sinister and supernatural.
Right.
And it's just so many interesting. It's an interesting overarching story, but there's so many smaller arcs that are very interesting. For example, the one I've just finished recently explores what would happen if this story seemingly goes to its ultimate conclusion, where it's hundreds of thousands of years in the future. Bruce Banner's human body is being held together by the will of the Hulk to keep it alive. Because obviously the Hulk's immortal, but Bruce Banner isn't, and they are essentially roaming the universe trying to kill the last things alive in all of reality. And it's just an incredibly like nihilistic, interesting story that you don't see told that much in modern mainstream comic books. Al Ewing is writing it, who has wrote some interesting stories before, but I think this is the thing from him anyway that I found the most interesting in a long time. So while not necessarily self-contained, it's still an incredibly interesting book and recommend people seek it out. I think
Okay.
it's currently on sale in Comixology as well,
Okay.
at
Okay.
least the first like, 20 or so issues. It's up to I think 33 at the minute, but definitely check that out. There's the obvious one, and this would tie in really well with a lot of your streaming potential at the minute. Watchmen, the Alan Moore book from the 80s.
I've
And
seen the movie, Sean. I liked the movie. A lot of people didn't really like the movie. I liked it, to be fair, but I didn't. Is there a TV series?
so there is, so there's the comic, which I would recommend you seek out. It is phenomenal. It is essentially the reason Watchmen is the reason you have your modern Batman films, your modern Superman films, because it brought the idea of like adult comics and more mature stories to the forefront.
Right.
It's currently been butchered in a lot of ways by DC and modern comics. As they've forced it in, they've forced it into their own mythology and kind of ruined the whole point of it. But besides the point, but there was a series very recently done by HBO, also called Watchmen, which, to be fair, I have not watched as of yet, but it is, I think, as I understand it, a sequel series to because the comic isn't the film, sorry, is an adaptation of the comic, and then I think the TV show is a sequel to those stories.
Oh.
It's got an absolutely really interesting cast as the TV show. Jeremy Irons is in it. Regina King, your man Tim Blake Nelson, who's funny enough was in Holes. Do you remember the not Mr. Sir? Do you remember the other like camp counselor guy, the
Oh, I
doctor?
haven't seen Holes in, and I mean, like, I seen Holes when I was still in secondary school. Like, I think we were doing it as an English project, maybe in second or third year. So I haven't seen Holes in a long time.
And then Don Johnson of Miami Vice fame is also in there. So it's a very good cast. It was very well critically received. I don't know how it did in ratings because I think it's kind of humming in hand currently about a second series. So I don't know if that's going to happen.
Right.
But yeah, so that could tie in well. I would recommend Watchmen. And then of course, Jack, I suppose, can tie into this conversation. The Killing Joke is always a very good starting point, and I think it's a good. If you're looking for something to read in terms of comic books, it's a good place to dip in and kind of take a pulse of what you like. Because if you like the Killing Joke, then I mean, the Long Halloween, Dark Victory, the current Batman run, is all would be right up your street. But what about the Killing Joke, Jack? Have you any thoughts on it? Also, can I just say it truly is the end times because if we listen closely, we can hear Sean cracking open a can of harp.
Is it actually a can of harp?
It is. It's yeah.
Yes, 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 yes.
It is. It is a dark time indeed. It is truly. We're at the end of our tether.
Now at this stage, Sean, I use your own wrestling thing against you. Yes, yes, yes. Fantastic. Hope it's ice cold and delicious, Sean, and it hugs your throat and tummy in ways that you'll never imagine.
Oh Jesus Christ!
I've been lying in the fridge since I was in your gaff last, which was quite a while ago.
I think they've been lying in the fridge since. I think another compatriot of ours came down to watch the Royal Rumble in Belfast and left this one singular can of harp behind.
It's been hiding behind the old stale jalapenos that Sean doesn't want to throw out because he thinks it gives them extra heat. The
But yeah,
jalapeno juice will be added to a curry in some time.
but
But
yeah. So
no, I haven't read. Sorry to cut across you. I haven't read all of the Killing Joke. I've been reading. Like I said, I've been reading the Rattle Bag, as I said earlier. I've been flicking through. There's like a book I got a few Christmases ago. It's like 1,000 paintings you must see before you die, and it gives you like where they're from, originated, a little bit about the artist and all. So I've been flicking through that as well. And yeah, I just think I'm reading a lot of papers, reading a lot of articles. Obviously online, everything is surrounded with coronavirus updates and such things. So I've actually been avoiding online reading articles, which I usually do on a daily basis. I spend most of my day reading stuff, to be totally honest. And I've just been buying papers as I usually do anyway, and flicking through those. To be fair, as of other, I'm trying to think, is any other great sort of. You know what I would really recommend people to watch? Casablanca.
right, that's out of left field.
It
Discuss.
is. It's just a great film.
Have you watched it recently or?
I haven't watched it recently, but it's just I was reading in I think it was the Irish Times done it. Was it? I think it was the Irish Times done it yesterday, where they had a section of a pullout of like all these classic films of what you could go back and watch. Do you know what I mean? If you can, and I was like, Casablanca is just a really good show. I remember watching it when I was doing my masters, and it's just brilliant. It's just so well done. There was also a great thing on the BBC today. I definitely would recommend people to go and look at it. It was on BBC Two. It was Conversations with Alfred Hitchcock, and it was
Oh,
on. Yeah, it was on. I think it was on just after 2 o'clock, between two and maybe three, half three today. And it discussed sort of, it just was like getting questions from the crowd, and he was there and chatting away about his films. An incredibly funny man. A little bit of a dry wit, but he never really answered a question straight, if you understand me. A lot of his questions were answered with puns and jokes, and I really liked it because it made for, although he usually answered the question with a joke and then he gave you some substance into why he chose this shot or why he done this or what he thought was his favorite film or etc etc. So I would recommend people to go and suss that out on BBC iPlayer. It definitely will be there. And
yeah.
yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say, Blind Boy show is also still on BBC iPlayer. I finished it up recently. It's only a handful of episodes. Blind Boy Undestroys the World,
And they're
which
only
is
like a
very good.
half an hour long, aren't they?
Yeah, it tackles a lot of like current issues, so like big corporations and rent issues and dodgy landlords and stuff like that. I think each episode's like a topics, but you can tell by the title and all they're very good. Would seek them out.
Fair play to Blind Boy. I would like to read another poem, if you don't mind, Sean, from this collection in the Rattle Bag.
Okay, carry on.
Again, very short, and it's by W.H. Auden. W.H. Auden, if anybody does not know who this gentleman was, English-American poet, playwright, and very interesting guy, linked to, so which is some of the studies that I had done when I was in secondary school doing A-levels. So that's pretty much why I like him. But this is called Epitaph on a Tyrant, W.H. Auden. Perfection of a kind was what he was after, and the poetry he invented was easy to understand. He knew human folly like the back of his hand, and was greatly interested in armies and fleets. When he laughed, respectable senators burst with laughter, and when he died, the little children died on the streets. Grim.
Grim. I was going to say about Grim.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry, the last line is when he cried, the little children died on the streets. Yeah, that's a little bit grim for our current thing. It just was one. When I seen Epitaph of a Tyrant, and it was funny. The reason why I spied that one the other day when I was just flicking through the book, I've noticed on, I don't know whether like people have been keeping up on news and such things. Notice how the news cycle completely changes when something like coronavirus affects, even somebody kept saying to me when the whole coronavirus thing started, the only reason there's been loads of things made out about it is because anybody can get it, even the rich, the powerful, the famous can get it. For example, one of the
yeah.
first big casualties of it, not a casualty, thank God, was of course Tom Hanks. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Wilson, and and that was the thing. And I just noticed that there's been so many, all the other wars and all other bad shit that's going on in the world that we need to be knowing and acknowledging about. For example, Syrian refugees. How the fuck are they going to cope with the coronavirus? Do you know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
literally living in slums. So I just sort of thought that was something, that the little 4 line poem was just something that just cropped into my head and made me think. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but yeah, we are drawn to a close, excuse, I do believe.
I suppose the last thing I want to touch on in terms of recommendations before we seek to wrap up is music. Have you been listening to any old or new music that has kind of driven you forward through these quarantining times?
Funny enough, when I was thinking about Alice in Wonderland there earlier on, I was thinking about the Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Oz. Sean, would you like to tell people? I don't think we've ever talked about that on the podcast. Would you like to tell people how?
So, well, what is right? Yeah, yeah. So, Dark Side of the Moon is an album by the legendary, notorious, famous Pink Floyd, and is that very famous album cover with the prism and the light going through it and all that.
Fantastic,
And
fantastic.
Alice, or not Alice, The Wizard of Oz, is a film from '30s, which we've all watched or seen at one time in our life, with the Wizard of Oz and the Toto and the I'm Melting and the Yellow Brick Road.
I'm
We've all,
melting.
we've all been there. The Flying Monkeys.
Just
We've
just
all
to
been
pause you 1 second, Sean. Just pause you 1 second. There's a song that I would recommend. It's a slow and it's quite a sad song. And I just, for the life of me, I'll get the name of the artist after this, but it's called The Tin Man, and it's a song about all the things that it's bad, but the Tin Man will still protect them. I'll go and find that, and then when you finish that, I'll let you know. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
there. And then I believe there is this. Well, not I believe there is. There's this famous
I
story myth.
believe.
I believe that the Dark Side of the Moon lines up with the Wizard of Oz if you watch them together. For example, when money kicks in, it's the first time the film snaps into color after the whole tornado and stuff, and she ends up in Oz. Or when the tornado hits again later, it's the big long outro at the end of another song that I can't quite remember the name of. But there's a lot of moments like that, and I suppose Jack maybe could fill in the blanks here. I went out one evening when we were at uni and returned home, and maybe a worse for wear than when I left.
I would say
And
a very merry Sean Skews entered in the wee hours of the morning.
what happened from there, Tidy?
Well, what happened was Sean came in after being at a lay party or a lead party. It was
Lay party.
not those types of parties, Sean, that you go to, every second Sunday of the month. But
No, no keys and balls.
no. But yeah, Sean came back, and I was in my room, contemplating life, and chilling, as one would say. And Sean came up and showed me this, and I think we watched nearly the full of it, if not the full of it, while listening. So pretty much, we listened to Dark Side of the Moon while having the Wizard of Oz full movie, and it was an experience to say the least.
It was, and then the plague of our housemate at the time cried that no one was on the same floor as him because he didn't couldn't sleep unless someone was on the same floor as him.
It's very true, because Sean's room is located beside his on the first floor of the house, and myself and our other comrade was on the second floor of the house.
And that's just a whole. He's just a fucking puke. We don't need. Nothing more needs to be said.
No, we don't need to go into detail about that particular individual.
But yeah, so there is maybe something you could do to entertain yourselves in the time of isolation. Maybe whack on Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Oz, and any other extracurricular activities that would be going along with such a practice is entirely, a quick Google
Up to
will sort that
yourself.
out. Uh-huh. Um, but yeah, any odd tunes or anything? There's a Chinese guy, Jackson Wang. What a name! Has a new song out called "100 Ways" that's pretty good,
Oh, okay.
and I'm hoping. Well, I don't know what the crack is actually. Now that I've said that, Junk Drawer supposed to be releasing their album in the middle of April, and they're supposed to have their album launch gig. Not sure if those are still going ahead, but I'm hopefully will be getting one of those on vinyl when the time comes. Throw them a lakh of quid, get one
Of
of them,
course,
and listen to that. That
of
should be
course.
exciting stuff. There's another unfortunate thing that was cancelled. The OK gig in aid of mental health. Well, I don't know. I don't think it's been officially cancelled, but I can't see any scenario where it goes ahead.
Yeah, I think it's going to be delayed, isn't it?
Hmm.
And that was going to
You'd
happen
like,
over in the Telegraph building in Belfast, wasn't it?
and it's going to be put on the long finger too.
Like
So,
fucking everything
but we'll
else
get
with
there.
this glorious year that it presented us,
We will struggle on. We will struggle on.
Struggle on. The song that I was suggesting actually when you were talking about the Wizard of Oz is Tin Man. It's by Saint Sister. It's quite a slow, sad song, but it's pretty beautiful to be fair. What
Hmm.
else have I been listening to? I suppose at the moment I've been listening to a lot of older stuff. Excuse me. I've been going back and listening to lots of older stuff. There's also some really, really like I'm listening to just a clatter of music to be totally honest at the moment. Bombay Bicycle Club, listen to them. Christine and the Queens, doing a lot of listening to them. Caroline Polachek, I would go and recommend her. Roisin Murphy, listening to a lot of Roisin Murphy at the moment. Let me see what else I'm listening to. Let me see what else. Ray Charles, I've jumped back into Ray Charles. You can never really go wrong with Ray Charles. Let's be totally honest.
No, no.
I think we all know that. Brittany Hard of Alabama Shakes, I've talked about her before. She was going to be supporting Michael Kiwanuka, who I've also talked before about in the podcast, on the Trinity Pav in the summertime. I assume that is no longer going ahead. That would have been two titans of sort of soul jazz music, who are modern titans of soul and jazz music, and just folk music in general, who are going to be playing down in Dublin this summer, who I intended on going to. Obviously, that's not happening anymore, which is
No.
completely fucking shite. Um, which is just it's just really not the one at the tall whatsoever. And other than that, yeah, there's so many, there's great things. I've went back and listened to Fontaine's DC debut album, because it's brilliant, it's absolutely brilliant. Tame Impala's newest album as well that came out, The Slow Rush. I've been going back and listening. When I say going back, it's only been re-released, or it's only been released. Sorry, so I've been listening to that as well, and a lot of Bob Marley as well for the chilling. The
Trying
very
to trying to be happy, just.
yeah, just trying to be. But tunes like oh, that's just Bob Marley jumped in there. Do apologize with that. No More Trouble, Stir It Up, obviously Stop the Train, all great Bob Marley tunes that I've been listening to. But yeah, folks, so just keep listening, keep creating. If you can draw as well, if you're into drawing, do a bit of drawing, do a bit of painting if you can. Paint silly things in your house. There's a thing as well that I keep telling people. I said to somebody the other day who I know is a talented artist, and I said, sure, why don't you just do a bit of painting, drawing and stuff to keep your mind occupied? Oh, sure, Jack. Now I was surprised this person said this to me. Oh, sure, Jack, what do you want me to do? Sure, I can't get out, I can't paint anything. And I was like, paint the objects in your house. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of, if anybody ever studied art in school, even I'm not talking about a degree level or anything like that, you can paint things like your toaster, you can paint things like the fruit on your table, you can paint things you can paint whatever's around you, so I would
Yeah.
recommend sort of getting and doing little bits of that there, scrapbooking, such things, reading as much as you can, creating as much as you can, and gaining knowledge. This is the time where we can actually get out and socialize with people and do anything. So if you can't do that, gain loads of brilliant knowledge, and then when we do get out of this thing, you can go and talk to the people about all the brilliant stuff you've learned.
Hmm. Be like Jack. Be that annoying guy in the bar who's like, "Listen to me, listen to me." Mm-hmm.
Sean, we know that's just always me in general, regardless of
Hmm.
coronavirus. So
Hmm. I suppose as we begin to sign off, there's one more thing we need to discuss that isn't necessarily related to the eternally mentioned elephant in the room.
mm.
Um, Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers passed away at the age of 81 yesterday, as of recording this, on the 21st of March.
Did. Yeah, I
Thoughts?
mean, yeah, yeah. Do you know, there has been, I think, I would say everybody, the listeners listen to this, I would say can definitely resonate when me and Sean have talked about throughout this podcast about things that have been cancelled throughout the year, been disappointed whether that be weddings, birthdays, concerts, gigs, gatherings, whatever it is. But then it's an even bigger kick in the teeth, the stones, the fucking, whatever, the punch in the boob, whatever you want to call it. When greats start to die, and then Kenny Rogers died, and I was like, for fuck's sake, like, Jesus, lads, come on, give us a break here, like.
I know. Like such great shit. Like I mean, the Gambler is the obvious one of his
Mm.
tunes. Absolutely fantastic tune. Islands in the Stream with Dolly Parton.
Do,
Um,
do.
yeah, Islands
Me and
in the
Sean's karaoke tunes.
uh-huh. The of course his weird fucking psych rock jazz folk thing that he did prior to his country stardom in the 70s. In the 60s, he had a band called Kenny Rogers in the first edition, who, of course, soundtracked one of the greatest moments in cinematic history in The Big Lebowski, that dream sequence,
Hmm.
with "Just Dropped In to See What Condition My Condition Was In,"
Just
which is an
drop
absolutely
in.
fucking great song. See what
What
condition my
condition my
condition.
condition was in.
See, we just can't harmonize. We'll get used to it. We'll get used to this delay and figure it out.
We will, we will.
But no, it's just an astoundingly talented man.
Do,
Who
do you know what?
who
Do you
I
know what?
was gonna.
I was just going to say, do you know what has been great though? That artists have adapted, and when I say artists, I mean I'm talking just pretty much with bands and singers here, and obviously artist is a raft of different people. But the great thing about is doing live gigs, say on social media, I think has been a good idea as well. We've seen Willie Nelson do it with his sons. We've seen the likes of Youngblood do it. We've seen Row, obviously Row Music, a lady, an artist from Derry, fantastic. We've seen the Mary Wobblers, a band that me and Sean were going to go and see as well. Have done it. We see a lot of different people, and we see a lot of different Irish bands, especially as well. Imelda May done a gig on St Patrick's Day in our house. We've
Uh-huh.
seen loads of different people creating brilliant things and giving stuff for people to enjoy and to watch. And the sad thing is that it's not the same. It's not the same as standing looking up at your favorite singer who or band or whatever it is, sweating and enjoying yourself and surrounded by the people who are enjoying it as well. There isn't that same, and that's I keep saying this throughout the show. I'm not trying to get philosophical or anything, but the human interaction thing. We obviously thought that social media. We know that social media has already created a distance between people. I only can live and hope that the good thing comes out of the coronavirus is people then understand and appreciate the fact that you have people around you. And the great thing is the initial human interaction of being have somebody beside you. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to having somebody, excuse me, 2 meters away or 200 miles away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It'll as you say, as you alluded earlier, the crack and the session when this all blows over. All
Oh,
being well. And you'd like to think it'll lead people to maybe savor their time together a bit more. Um,
indeed.
Gary Lightbody is also on that list. He did a very nice live stream gig, and he was talking about that as well. He was talking about it because he's out in LA, and obviously there's travel bans and all the place now. So he was
Uh-huh.
saying how he was like literally wasn't able to come home, obviously because a lot of people
But I assume he
are.
lives there anyway.
Yeah, yeah, but I think given the nature of his work, there's not a pile of work on at the minute over there.
Standard.
Well, actually, I don't know if he lives there because he mentioned in the stream that he was renting the place that he was in at that time.
Oh.
But either way, it's the same thing. It ties into that whole savoring the time you have with each other and stuff like that. Because shit like this happens and you're locked in the house with the same people, and you might get fucking sick of them.
Very true, very true. Although what I can't understand, Sean, is I'm here on my own, and I mean, like realistically, it's very, very hard for me to get, annoyed with myself because that just wouldn't happen in general. So I think I'm pretty sweet.
We'll come back to that and see how we get on. But yeah, I suppose this was our sort of quarantina cast, isolationa cast,
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it. And I suppose going forward, I think we're obviously going to record more of these remotely like this, and hopefully we'll work out the kinks and any sort of rhythmic or flow issues. But I think in terms of the elephant in the room, as we will continue to refer to it as, um, I think it's obviously going to come into stuff going forward. But I think generally, bar this episode, we're trying not to make it the focus of anything going forward,
True,
because I
true.
mean, everybody hears enough about it that must not be named during the day. I don't think if anyone listens to this show, you'd like to think it's for entertainment or a bit of a break. And
Agreed, agreed.
so we will try and entertain you with the typical belittling Jack and stuff. I don't know what else we did in the show other than
Pointing out Sean's incredible flaws because they're there. We know they're there. They're glaringly obvious.
if you can find them. If you can find them.
You'd be a hard pressed man to find them now, bio.
You've got 4 months in quarantine. I'll leave it with you and see what you can find.
Well, folks, look, the lovely man that has been not sitting opposite me, of course, metaphorically, not physically. He's not in the room with me at the moment, so the room that I'm currently in obviously smells a whole lot better because after an hour and 20 odd minutes of a room with Sean, where we usually record, can be quite tight going. The gas masks that they use for coronavirus probably wouldn't help it, but sure, I'm still here now. It has been a while, Sean Skews.
And on the opposite end of the internet cabling and wireless technology that has enabled the recording of this on future episodes, the man who is, as we say, just over 100 miles away by foot, and should hopefully, that leaves us approximately 30 hours apart. Let's keep it that way. The man, I can also say, who I am in no way confident he isn't just sitting in his fucking Starkers recording this, because as we say, he's home alone, is Jack Donnelly.
And of course, folks, you've been listening to.
Let's try this. It's gonna be a good crack.
Okay. See when you hear me start it, then you just jump in and I'll try and hopefully work it out. Sorry, folks, it's gonna be hard, but we're gonna get there. So 3, 2, 1. You ain't heard nothing yet.